All right, Sam, what are we doing?
We are giving our side of the story of what happened last night, which is the factual side of the story.
If I could just have a second, I'm Heidi Zippel. Myself and my son Landon Zippel were the pedestrians that were struck last night.
Hold on. Actually, give us a sec so the microphone's in. We can get all. Hold on one second. You get. So these guys give you a thumbs up.
Okay, thanks.
Camera's ready. You guys on it?
I just wanted to say that we were struck last night and tell you what happened to us. The police have refused to take our statements. In the hospital last night, I was issued my citations while I was being wheeled into CT, and the officer wouldn't speak to me then. So hopefully I'll get some answers today too. Myself and my family are from a little north of Dayton, Ohio. And we came to DC to take my son to the Smithsonian's and the different museums and see some of the sites. We came also to participate in Occupy DC because I wanted him to see what democracy looked like and to participate in a movement that his voice could be heard. We did this to be completely peaceful. My wife, who is 6 months pregnant, due at the end of February, have had long talks about coming out here. We chose DC because it was the most peaceful of all of the rallies in the area. We're at the corner of New York and 7th Street. We arrived there like a little after 7 o'clock, and we had been there for almost 3 hours. We had about 50 people at that intersection. Police were essentially blocking the traffic for us, and we could be there just as a visual for the people inside. At a little after 10 o'clock, we were standing in our line where we had been for many hours when a car came barreling down 7th Street, traveling, I think, southbound in the northbound lane, but on the wrong side of the road, right towards myself and my family. When he got to the intersection, he stopped, came to a complete stop just for a split second, and a lot of cars that had previously come to that point would have either turned around or gave us a second to get out of the way. We were never at any point violent or hitting cars or blocking it. We let ambulances and buses and other cars through. So he stopped at that same point in the intersection, and we all watched very carefully to see what he would do. And at that point, he threw his hands up off of his steering wheel and gassed it, just gunned it right through us. Luckily, my wife was able to get mostly out of the way. My son was in front of the car, and I saw him be struck, and he was trying to step backwards very quickly to stay out from underneath the car, and it bent him over and slammed him down on the hood. At this point, I realized that if we did not get out from in front of this car very quickly, that we were going to be underneath it very soon because the driver was not letting up on the gas whatsoever, even after he struck us. I took my son and I shoved him as hard as I could, one direction, and I dove the other direction. The car hit my legs, and I hit the ground, hit my head, and briefly lost consciousness.
The car came down the street at us, and it stopped, threw its hands up, and as soon as it had got his hands back on the steering wheel, he just gunned it, and I ended up, when he hit me, it bent me at the waist, and I fell over and smacked my head on the hood of the car, and I went like 10 feet back, and then my mom finally got me off, pushed me off the hood.
The other thing that you should know is that before this gentleman struck me, he hit another woman at an intersection around the corner. She was also taken to the hospital with injuries to her head. The same incident has been described to me by her that happened to us, so this happened repeatedly.
We just wanted to say that both of us were there last night. We both saw both collisions, so we can take any questions you might have about them.
What did you see?
Georgia and some others were standing under the skywalk by the Washington Convention Center, and then he just went into Georgia and missed the other people. I figured this guy would stop. No one would ever do that on purpose. But then he kind of just kept going, where he hit Georgia was not an intersection. It was the crosswalk under the skywalk at the Washington, D.C. Convention Center.
So no lights there at all?
There's no traffic lights.
The green light thing just doesn't apply to that?
No. And after I turned the corner, I start screaming, "Stop that car, stop him, stop that car, stop him."
It was really hard to watch, but I saw both of them, both of the collisions, and afterwards I was in shock for several minutes, and then I realized that the car had been stopped further down the street because the police cars had been sitting there the entire time, and I just went up to several officers and said, "Excuse me, sir, I saw both collisions, I'd like to give a statement," and all they would say is, "Back up, back up, back up."
He's going to give a statement. We're only going to take a couple of questions, and then he's going to have to get going. So I hope
Where does he have to go?
Then you guys, I just want you guys to be respectful of his time. He's not going to be able to give a whole lot, but he will take a couple of questions, and then I'm going to have to cut it off.
The Metropolitan Police Department was called there for the demonstrations. When we arrived on the scene, there were a large number of demonstrators around the convention center. They were demonstrating at several of the entrances and exits to the convention center, as well as occupying several intersections. During the demonstration, there was a car that was traveling southbound on 7th Street. The vehicle came to Mount Vernon, came through a green light according to non-involved witnesses, went through the intersection when 3 individuals got in front of the vehicle. At that point, the 3 individuals were struck by the vehicle.
I say they did go in front of the car. Does that give the driver the right to hit them?
Well, I don't think that gives the driver the right to strike anybody, but if somebody drunk dives in front of the car, that does weigh a lot on how the accident occurred.
Are you implying that my
Chief,
son is
Chief,
drunk?
It's my understanding that there was 2 incidents involving this driver, one with this group, and then prior to that,
Are you aware of
another woman struck.
involving this driver?
Involving this driver, I'm not.
Involving this driver, I'm not. Involving this driver, I'm not.
The police have refused to take our statements.
"Excuse me, sir, I saw both collisions, I'd like to give a statement," and all they would say is, "Back up, back up, back up."
There should be an investigation, a proper investigation, and then he should be cited according to the law.